liberty and justice for all. Are there any public discussions on the items to be voted on the agenda? Okay, at this time, we're going to skip ahead a little bit on the agenda. We need a motion to ratify the hiring of Brian Mickens as of March 13, 2024 as a part-time police officer.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. How you doing? We're going to take the oath of office for police officer. I, Brian Mickens, do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
or affirm
or affirm
that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties of police officer in Mount Pleasant Township, Washington County,
and I will discharge the duties of police officer of Pleasant Township, Washington County,
with fidelity.
with fidelity.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, I'd just like to announce that we had a brief executive session discussion about personnel matters prior to the meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the February 28, 2024 Supervisors meeting as presented.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Make a motion to authorize and ratify the payment of bills and payroll for the month of March 2024.
Second. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. I'll make a motion that we approve the departmental reports as given.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution for 2024H, established yearly procedures for the volunteer service credit.
I'll second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 164 establishing a volunteer service credit program.
I second the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make the motion to authorize the purchase of out-readers for the police station at the cost of $981.61. I would ask Chief Tharp to explain what the out-reader is for the police station.
Sure, that's the, so whenever we moved up to the new location, We had originally planned on there being readers on both sides. Whenever Guardian had installed them, they installed them on one side of a two-way door. It created a key access just for the secure side, which does take a little bit more time. Originally, they had quoted much higher than what is listed there. So I had reached out to Guardian and I spoke with a gentleman named Tim Warnock. Once he explained the other options, not having necessarily an out reading, they were able to reduce the price significantly, which is what made me make the request to put a fob essentially on both sides of those two doors that don't have them. There's a fob on one side only currently.
So there's going to be 2 fobs now?
Correct. Yeah, it would be 2 on each side. There's only 2 doors missing, 2 fobs. Outside of the main door, which is a push bar for fires out.
Okay. Which doors do these cover?
The second entry door and the patrol room door.
Okay.
Did you make the motion, Bill?
I did.
I'll second the motion to get the police card readers. There's been a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve the referring Baker ASA application in Washington County Planning Commission and Township Planning Commission.
I'll second the motion. The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries.
And for those of you who don't know, the ASA is the agricultural program put on by the state.
I'll make a motion to approve the paving of the half of the Walnut Road at a cost of $217,500 plus the $19,500 for equipment rental.
Is there a second? I'll second the motion. All those in favor signify.
I have a question. $217,500, where is that money coming from?
That is coming from, part of it will come from Act 13. It was in the budget. That was his 240-some thousand, I believe, we budgeted in Act 13.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Coming out of Act 13?
Well, whatever those two numbers are together, 230, 237, whatever. Yeah.
The motion's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
I'd like to make a motion to set a date for the town hall meeting regarding the police reorganization.
And that'll be, I believe, May 1st. That's a Wednesday.
May 1st?
Yeah, they want to keep them all in sequence. So you want to amend the motion to say May 1st?
At the fire hall.
Yeah, well, where do you want to have that meeting
We'll
in?
have it at the fire department.
Okay. We'll make a motion to set a date, which is May 1st, 2024, at the fire department in Mount Pleasant Township.
7 p.m., Shane?
7 p.m. I'll second the motion for the town hall meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. All right, we're gonna look at the bids for the road material bids are to be open.
Yeah. Okay, the first bid is from Greer Limestone, and they are bidding on the 800-ton of number 8 aggregate, 1% washed, and their unit price delivered at the job site is $45 a ton. Pass this down to you guys to look at. The next bid is from Riley Petroleum. Okay, and they have to bid on the diesel and the gas, $7,000, 7,000 gallons of gas, 8,000 gallons of diesel, and they only bid their margin, which is 15 cents a gallon. And they use the Opus price of the day of delivery for the price of the actual fuel. And that is per PennDOT.
Is that the only one we got on that?
No,
Okay.
Is there a charge for transfer, delivery or anything?
that's it, delivery and profit. 15 cents a gallon. This bid is from Donald Broughton. He is bidding on the number 8 aggregate 800 ton. His is $39 a ton. And that's delivered. There it is. Next, we have Russell Standard. They are bidding on the 30,000 gallons of E3, and that price is $2.57 a gallon. Sorry, I don't have a paper clip for this one. Okay. Okay, this is from Brewston Petroleum. All right. Well, they didn't bid just their profit and delivery. They billed a price of $2.45.5 for unleaded gas and diesel at $2.8275. And they have on there the price will fluctuate with Opus. So I have no idea what their, I'm sorry.
We need to figure out what that comparison
No,
is.
I have it here. He did fill it on this sheet. Brewston is 10 cents a gallon. Okay, so this
Plus 10 cents over that.
10 cents over that, yes.
And the other was 15, just out of
Yeah.
curiosity.
The other was 15, so this is 10 cents. Okay. He had it on a different sheet. Okay. Okay. This is Chem Oil. And Chem is 0.089 cents. So it's 8.9 cents.
And that's on top of the Focus.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, they can only bid their delivery because since the fuel fluctuates so much, they can't they can't do it for a whole year. Well, I pulled to open. Okay.
That's the best one so far for fuel.
And this is Glasmere. Who's on there?
You say Glassmere?
Glasmere, yes. And Glasmere is 19.12 cents.
Big difference.
Again, I don't have a paper. So, as I see it, the low bid for the gas and diesel is Ken. The low bid for the stone is Dawn Groudon. And we only had one bid for the E3, and that is Russell.
Solicitor McDermott, have you had a chance to review those?
I've had a chance just to briefly review, confirm the inclusion of the 10% bid bond. What you can do and we normally customarily do, whether it's by the engineer in one case, or in this case, I think your public works director and manager can confirm. Under those circumstances, you can take the purported results that you believe here, make a motion to accept
The low bids
each
based
one
on
of
that
those.
they meet the
Yes,
requirements of the bid
subject to
bond.
and conditioned upon confirmation of the bids and.
Meeting all the bid specs.
Yes. I'll make a motion that we do award it to the lowest bidders of Chem Oil for the gasoline and diesel, Groudon Trucking for the stone, and Russell Standard for the E3 oil, as long as the bid meets all the requirements within the bid packet.
Upon final
Upon
review
final
by
review.
the Public Works Director, Manager, and Solicitor to their satisfaction.
With the Public Works Director's input, manager, and solicitor's review.
I'll second that.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. All right, we'll move on to discussion items for new business. We have a tree on Primrose Road that is a little bit too dangerous for the equipment that we have. Mickey, would you like to explain that tree a little bit, just so everyone knows what needs to be done there?
75 feet tall with the hickory tree. It's right on the edge of the road. It's still alive, but it's all hollowed out at the bottom, and and there's wires right there. And we're afraid it's if we try to do it, it's gonna break off and come crashing down, and someone's gonna get hurt.
And we don't want that. So we got two proposals there. One from Joe Williams Tree Service for $800 to take the tree down. And then we got another one from, is it Bulldog? And it was $1,600, is that correct? Well, I'll make a motion that we award it to the low bid for $800 to Joe Williams to take down the tree on Primrose Road.
That's on the agenda.
But it's just under discussion.
In new business. Like, you can act on it if it's,
All right.
yeah.
So I'll make a motion that we award that to Joe Williams for $800 to take that tree down safely.
Second.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries.
Next discussion was Supervisor Maga, Mickey brought up about the block. Mick, you got different bids now?
Yeah, those prices there.
Okay. I also did some looking around and I checked with several other construction companies, concrete companies, and most of them were all indicating that the cost of the block are between $80 to $100 a block. And I believe you were doing it, the lowest bid was $50. So I will take a motion to pass that at $50 a block. As long as it's in the budget.
Darla, was that project budgeted?
No,
It was not.
no.
Is there a line item in the budget where a project like that would be covered?
This is for the salt, right? Just for the,
Well, it's for multiple, it's for the stone, multiple different
Well,
things.
the only place that we could take it from is the surplus of Act 13, which is allowable. That would be where I would suggest that we take it if we decide to do it.
I want to move that we table this discussion until we do a little more research in the budget at this time.
Table. Okay, so you want me to look through the budget?
But didn't Bill?
Yeah, well, Bill made a
I made a motion, yes.
So the motion will die.
The motion dies for lack of a second right now. I'll make a motion that we table this discussion and look at the budget to try to find the funds in there where we can make it work. I want the project to happen, but I want to make sure that we got the right money to do it. So
I'll second it.
the motion's been moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries.
Next, we had a discussion on grant writing. We did some interviews with Mike, hopefully I pronounced his last name, Pura, and Dwayne Morris of Government Strategies of LSSE Company. I believe it's the engineering company as well.
Lennon Smith, yeah, Sean Wingrove, yeah.
So I did some looking around on both sides of this. Mike has done a lot of grant writing out of Allegheny County. I've checked with a lot of people that I've known over the past, different chiefs of police in Allegheny County. He's very aggressive. He's done a lot of grants for Imperial Land. I did the reviews on Dwayne Morris when they were here. I make a motion to put Mike on. The contract indicates that he actually was able to get it down to $300 retainer fee with a $150 for investigation time. Mike would keep us updated on everything about it. He would meet before the grant was wrote, get our approval, and if we give him the pass to go, he would start investigating. He will keep us up to date on all the grants that's coming through. So it is going to be a $300 a month compared to a $0 a month from Dwayne Morris, but
No, from Lennon Smith.
or Lennon Smith, I'm sorry.
And it's $150 an hour?
We have the contract that he sent.
Okay.
and I will get the agreement paperwork, but I'll make a motion to put Mike on, and if we don't like it, we can quit at any time. We can cancel that. There's no contract at all.
I have, before you go for a second, I have a question. I have not seen anything in writing. I'm not going to approve something like that without something in writing.
The contract, do you have the contract, Bill?
I don't know if I have it with me or not.
I know it was emailed to Darla, right?
It was,
But it's a much higher retainer fee.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
It would have to be revised to show what, now you're talking.
Now, did they do the engineering when it's required for the grant? Or do we have to pay that over and above?
That would be up to our engineering firm, and he would actually get with them as well.
Okay.
And I believe that's exactly how LSS, our current engineer, LSSE, when we met, they said there would be engineering costs on top of the grant as well.
Right. Yeah, but they're right there. So then this, if we would either have to hire Lennon Smith or someone else to do this. Correct?
Right.
Okay.
And besides the retainer fee, is there a percentage of the grant?
It's all in the contract. It was signed, or it was sent to Darla. There are some grants that will have to, there's a percentage we have to make up, but both parties explain the same thing. There's some grants out there that you're going to have to match a percentage to, and there's some grants out there that you won't have to match up anything.
I know, but
Does he get a percentage? I think that's what you're
that's
asking.
what I'm asking.
Yeah, does he get a percentage of the grant? You know, like a 5%?
Or whatever.
A finder's fee, I'll call it,
Beside is retainer.
besides his retainer and $150 an hour.
That was never indicated, but I don't want to give a solid answer on that.
My suggestion is, and I'll make a motion, we table this until we see contracts, written contracts from both.
I know we have a contract. It was sent to Darla for Mike.
But we don't have,
Sean said there would be no contract with Lennon Smith because they are our engineer. All that they would, this is what Sean told us. We make up our list of what we're looking for. We give it to him and tell him, yes, you've been chosen to look for the grants. He gives it to their grant committee. They look, they call and say, hey, Darla, this fits for, you want this. We can apply, here's approximately how much it's going to cost. And then you guys decide yes or no if you want to go to the grant. They tell us if there's matching funds or we have to give a percentage or whatever. There's no contract with Lennon Smith since we basically are under contract with them for our engineering.
I'd like to see something in writing from both of these on exactly what it is, whether there's a percentage or what.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent idea to have a grant writer on our staff looking for funds to fund projects. And sometimes you do got to spend a little bit of money when you're going to make money at things. And
I do know that Mike indicated in our interview with him, and he will search for all the grants. He will keep a constant watch on every grant that comes down. They go through the state, government, federal, everybody. And he indicated that he'll watch that, and he will indicate to us, these are the grants that are out there. These are the ones more successful to shoot for. These are the ones that probably not worth going for. He does a lot of, pretty much all of Allegheny County. He does grant writing for Imperial Land. I did follow up with Imperial Land, and they were really aggressive. They've, over the course of last year, they've got over, millions of dollars from grant writing, or the grants. But as of Gary indicated, I don't have an idea right now to say that there's a percentage to him.
And Lennon Smith basically said the same thing. They would let us know what grants were out there.
I understand. I want to see it in writing, and I want both of them reviewed by Tom before we make a
Yeah,
decision.
so let's get the contract that you have, Darla, so you should get that to Tom anyhow.
I believe both of them.
And you should get our engineer.
That one
Get
has
our
to be-
engineer to get a contract like Gary's
Well,
requesting.
this Mike's has to be redone because it says $500 a month. So he has to provide a new proposal.
Right.
I have that, I have to get that printed up for you.
Okay.
You get that contract updated.
I have
You
it
get
with-
Lennox Smith's updated.
Okay.
We'll send them to Tom to review them, and then we'll take this matter up at the next meeting.
Okay. So I need a second to that table.
Well, first of all, he had a motion to approve it. The motion will die for a lack of a second, okay? Gary made a motion to table this, and I'll second it that we table until we get both contracts from both companies, and the solicitor reviews them and gives us his report
Okay.
to the next meeting. Is there a second?
You just did it.
You did.
I made the motion. No, he made the motion. I seconded it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Mickey, I got a question about the paving of the basketball courts. Since we have that paper, can't we do that?
Oh, we can do it. It's just some, you have to have precision on the basketball courts. Like if you want, they gotta be perfect for the rims and stuff. We can do it.
Are you gonna have puddles?
Only if it rains.
Yeah.
What would it cost us to do it versus?
Oh, we can do it a lot cheaper, but we're just paying for the material. His price is the material and labor. We're still have to rip the old ones out no matter what.
Right.
He said it would be another $1,000 for each court if they did, but we could do that.
Was any of that LSA money, could it cover some of that paving, Darla?
No, because it wasn't included in the application.
Specifically.
Because we had budgeted money to, for us to redo them. So it wasn't part of the LSA, no.
All right, well,
So if we do it ourselves, you would say within that budget? They may not be perfect, but I think we budgeted $5,500.
For asphalt.
Well, we're still waiting for the asphalt for
Yeah,
on the co-stars.
right. And they still haven't put it up yet, so
So do we want to
we don't know.
table this till next month? I'll make a motion, we table the paving of the basketball courts until we get the price of the asphalt.
seconded, the motion's been moved and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Also, I guess this is part of that too. There's $5,000 been budgeted for the sidewalk and bridge at the Southview Park.
Yeah,
And we got some approval, maybe the county volunteers can do some of that labor.
Program, we're gonna do it.
they're gonna do it, and we just have to
We just have to
purchase the
buy
materials, so.
Well, I'll make a motion that we purchase the materials if we got free labor to do that project, as long as we sticking with the budgeted price of $5,000.
Okay.
Nikki, does the jail still offer them?
That's who.
That's who
That's who, yeah, they did put down.
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The motion carries. Also, it was brought to our attention, Chief Lord, you have a little situation regarding part-time.
Yeah, so we, Supervisor Maga and Supervisor Nimble and I interviewed applicants for part-time that we got permission to advertise at the last meeting. We did the final interview last night. We'd like to get those put on the agenda to make the motion to hire the 3 that we selected. And the reason for the necessity is right now, we switched to a 24/7 schedule. We're working some part-timers to cover about 24 hours a week. We have some vacancies in the schedule. The current part-timers are working, but with conflicts with their full-time jobs, it's not working out. And we have vacancies as soon as next week that hiring these individuals tonight would help resolve.
Is there any specific hours on each part-timer?
They usually work a 12 to 24-hour shift. Each individual one a month. There's 24 hours a week that the part-timers cover.
Okay.
And you have money within the hiring budget to do this?
The part-timers were budgeted for the appropriate amount of hours each month at budget time. We just need to add some additional personnel to our part-time roster to help fill the vacancies in that budgeted hours.
Is that good budget for additional part-time?
I don't believe that there was a number set on the amount of part-timers.
No, it was just, we budgeted the total number of hours that would be needed, and it depends on, it can be 4 part-timers that are carrying out those hours, or 2, or whatever. Now we're down to, basically, we need people to fill shifts.
Yeah, we need to add a few more.
You're saying without these part-timers, the 24-hour coverage we
There'll
have
be
now
vacancies
would be
in the 24-hour
some
coverage.
vacancies, which kind of makes that an emergency.
Well, solicitor, to amend the agenda, since it was an issue at last month's meeting, to properly do this.
Right, and as I understand, and it was actually because of scheduling, we wanted to get them all in, but for that, would have been able to get it on the agenda. As we know, we're a little restricted on amending agendas. However, I believe under circumstances as presented, and I did confer with Mr. Lohr as well, you had it prior authorized to the general hiring. It was previously budgeted. The urgency arose between the time when the agenda was posted and now. And there is an urgency, as I understand it. In fact, even over the Easter holiday, you could be left with open non-coverage, and God forbid, you could have a lack of manpower on the fire department. I do believe under those circumstances, it would be appropriate to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add an item that would be consideration of hiring the 3 part-time workers. Then after you would pass that motion, then you would actually act on that agenda item, seconded, open discussion to yourselves on the floor, and then you may take action on it.
Chief Lohr, could you just comment the names of the hires that you would like to hire?
There was 3 individuals that we selected out of 13 applicants. John Scott, Andrew Newman, and Wendy Wenzel.
Okay. Is there a motion to open the agenda?
I'll make a motion to open the agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion approves. All right, now is there a motion to hire the 3 individuals that Chief Lohr had mentioned as part-time firefighters?
I'll make a motion to put the 3 firefighters on.
And that was John Scott, Andrew Newman, and Wendy Wenzel.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Part-time.
Part-time. Part-time. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
The motion's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion approves. All right, we'll move on to public comments and general items not specifically on the agenda. Are there any public comments at this time? Mickey?
Well, I just spoke with the gentleman from West Penn Tire about the ball field tower in Southview. I have a meeting scheduled for 8:30 next Wednesday. I would like if the supervisors can attend that. But we have to make a couple of decisions as far as cost. I have been looking at two different ways to bring the power in. But it's up to you guys how you want it. So I'd rather have the supervisors who can attend be there. If you can't come at that time, we can change the meeting to a different time.
What time did you say the meeting was?
8 a.m. on Wednesday.
Say it again.
8:30,
This upcoming Wednesday.
yes.
Would be what, April 3rd?
Yes.
I already know that I will not be available for that. And take the trip to the garage.
Ready?
Third time I have it.
All right, are there any other public comments? Mr. Law?
Yeah, Chris Law, Fort Cherry Road. The reason for the comment is I sent last month, it was to, I think, each of the members here in front of us, a letter with regards to a couple complaints with the truck traffic on Fort Cherry Road here recently. In looking into it, I realize Fort Cherry Road is a state road, so you guys have no jurisdiction over that, but digging into it further, the reason for the traffic is these convoy of residual waste trucks going to and from the Yonker well pad, or I'm sorry, the Yonker tank pad that's on Baker Road. And in looking into it, I think there's some issues with regards to the permitting of that activity, and I want to step through, I want to keep it kind of simple, because as I got further into it, there's a lot more other things that you guys need to be aware of, and I'm not going to tie up a lot of your time, and it has to do with permitting and other things. But starting off with, I'm going to step through these documents so you can follow along. The original permit that was issued by the DEP Waste Management Department was WMGR 123. And I will have copies for everybody to look at.
Thank you.
The important point here is that it was issued on November 8th of 23. It's a 123 permit. As you can see, I've highlighted, it's actually a Yonker George tank pad. And if you flip back to, I think, the third page, I've highlighted the fact that this permit issued by the state expires on January of 2031. So it's a 7-year permit for this activity. So,
Hold on one second.
sure.
Toma, when we were talking about that, I thought they were like 6 months permits. You said they were
Well,
like
there's a difference, and I'm happy to let the gentleman finish, and I'm
Okay.
happy to explain again what we have explained before to him. These documents are not new to us. In fact, we've provided some of the documents to you that you have.
Okay, I agree.
All right, go ahead, continue.
All right, so from that document, I guess it was submitted to the township. The township did issue a permit January of this year. And any references back to that document, but there's a note on the bottom of the second page, something to the effect that it's a 6-month approval. So I guess the first question is, does the township planning on issuing a new permit every 6 months for the next 7 years? Don't know, but the real issue I have is the fact that when you look at a tank pad and the definition of the tank pad, per our own zoning ordinance, it's conditional use. So that means it would have had to go through conditional use hearing, because if you look on this, again, these are straight out of our zoning ordinances. Third page, it says the tank pads are conditional use in the A1 zone area. And just to revalidate that, whenever you have conditional use, I'll go fast so we can slow me down, but note number 3 on our ordinances says it requires for conditional use approval conditions public hearing commence to the township. So it has to have, it should have gone through a public hearing, which, as far as I can tell, it has not.
We've told you that it has not.
Okay.
You didn't need to investigate that. We told you, and we told
Okay,
you.
so you're in violation of the ordinance.
No, we didn't. When you're done, please, I'm happy to allow you to finish, and I'll respond.
Well, I guess, go ahead if you want to comment about it, because
Okay.
the fact that the permit that existed at the end of last year, which was submitted,
Again.
permitted by the township,
No,
required.
if I might, please,
Required conditional. Go ahead.
please conclude your
Okay.
comments,
Okay.
and happy to allow you, obviously not my show, but I'm happy to comment on your comments.
Okay, sure.
As I did, I believe we had a conversation on where we agreed to disagree, but we did have this
I'm just saying
conversation
the
about
facts.
these matters. We did talk on March 11th by telephone?
Probably, yes.
Not probably, we did, right?
Okay, I agree.
Just let me know, and again, our zoning officer, as I explained to you, made a determination that this falls under, by the way, two things done on the same use chart is a P for something called temporary water storage facilities. And again, going back to your complaint, it raised two questions. And I did, although we agree to disagree, respond to in conversation with you. And I also invited you to obtain from the resident, the same resident from whom you obtained the zoning permit, the rest of the package, rather thick package of information and documents that we provided in response to that resident's right to know request. It has each and every one of the documents that you're presenting to the board in your complaint, please, right now, okay? And the first, and I was given permission to call and talk to you and give the explanation, saying which one that is in the documents that are all were provided, etc.
Right.
Okay. I know we agree to disagree, but again, there are two categories of use on our zoning permit. There's a conditional use for what it would be characterized as a long-term permanent tank pad that's subject to that. There's also a P, permitted use for what are called temporary water facilities. Your first question was, because you believe that we were required to and should have had a conditional use hearing, please provide you with the transcript and all the documents that would be associated with that hearing. That was your first inquiry.
I didn't inquire that, no.
No, that actually was in your complaint, if I could have. Your first complaint was there should have been conditional use. Okay, that is your number one. It actually called it number one. And I responded to that by saying, as we did with the companion right to know response, because it was determined that this was not a conditional use application, we didn't receive one, the zoning officer made a determination that it was appropriate to have submitted, and he approved a zoning permit under a temporary water storage facilities category, also under our zoning ordinance, that he issued that permit. And therefore, because the determination was made that there was no conditional use required, there was no conditional use proceedings, and therefore no transcripts, okay? And I know we agree to disagree on it. I also, I think, explained, number two, your second question in complaint was, if there was not, then the zoning officer erred, and with the solicitor's advice, erred, and there should have, and I think that's what you've presented here tonight. Again, and you actually base that on your reading and your understanding of the DEP permits that are issued, the 123, the 163, etc., okay? I'm not an expert on state DEP regulation, however, I did review the matter, and I did make such consultation and review as I determined necessary for me to reach a conclusion. And my understanding, and I think I told you, George is not infallible, nor am I. And we're all subject to being stood corrected, okay? And again, I think there may be, and I also invited you to consult with your own attorney, and in fact, for you to consult with the DEP regulators for the Southwestern District of Pennsylvania, and I'm sure they believed that we are in error folks will let us know. Okay, secondly, I informed you that if folks believe that the zoning officer, with my advice, made an incorrect determination when he issued that zoning permit, that folks who believe that they were aggrieved by that do have a right, and I believe you're familiar with those rights, to file an appeal through the legal process to contest whether George, the zoning officer, erred. That has not happened, okay? And we've issued a series of these permits from 2 or 3 of them, and from 20 till now. So I know we agree to disagree. I think there's some distinctions between the state permits that may be short-term, may be long-term, may allow a variety of uses, short-term and long-term uses, that may or may not be obtained on a local level. Sure. Could, with those long-term permits in hand, the applicant seek approval for a long-term permanent water storage facility that would meet the definition of a conditional use? Yes, they could, I believe, with those permits in hand. Might they, on the other hand, lawfully decide that they don't wish to put a long-term permanent facility up there that would rise to the level of conditional use? Could they choose to file temporary, even serially, applications for P-permitted temporary water storage facilities? That is the determination that was made by the zoning officer. That was the assertion made by the applicant. That was the application filed based on that. The zoning officer made a determination that that was a valid application, and in consultation with the solicitor approved that application. Nobody's appealed from that application. That application stands, again, are infallible if and when somebody challenges that determination lawfully or we are otherwise advised by folks that may know better than I, and I'm not infallible and will be happy to be stood corrected if I am wrong. Until that time, this is what, and I've explained this to our board and to you personally, to the requester calling resident in writing on appeal, and it's a public document.
All right, first of all, you keep referring to state permits. There's only one permit. Here's the document, here's the documents.
I have all the documents.
Well, I'm pointing to the rest of people who don't. So the document says that the prior permit by the state was rescinded back in, actually January. So the fact is, when you were reviewing, and I highlighted it here, it says that they rescinded the bond, so there's only one permit, which is the one I provided you guys, which is a 7-year permit. So is that considered short time?
I have DEP permits. We have the Act 14 notice.
There's only one permit.
I know that you have them as well.
There's only one permit.
163, there was a 123.
There's only one permit.
Was replaced with the other. One bond, as I understand it, was exchanged between the permittee and the replacement bond placed with the DP. Again, I encourage you to take it, if you believe that we're incorrect, I encourage you, as I believe you have, to consult with. I have invited you to make your concerns expressed in public hearing. I was happy to share my opinion with you and do so again. And I encourage you to consult with your own attorneys and, in fact, consult with the DEP, who I believe would be happy to let us know if we are in error, and we'll be happy to correct our course if we are.
I did consult with the DEP. They said that there's only one permit that's available.
I am happy you can give the DEP, and if you would be happy to share with me your contact at the DEP, I would be happy to personally consult with the DEP.
So I guess the question is, if you have a 7-year permit, is that considered temporary by the board or by the township?
Again, our board's not in a position to make a legal determination. I'm not going to sit here and quibble with you about our legal thing that we agree to disagree, and again, that's kind of the position that I would advise that we take at this time.
So the next question I have is that, so you issued a 6-month permit off of a 7-year state permit. Is it the intention that you would continue every 6 months reissue another permit?
May I clarify for the board? This board did not issue this permit. Our zoning officer issued this permit, and to my knowledge, nobody has appealed challenging the propriety of that permit issued in January.
So that's why I'll appeal them, but I'm bringing to the attention of the board that the fact that you have this 7-year permit. I mean, quite frankly, we lived through a similar situation several years ago with the impoundments. We spent tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees fighting everything. I'm just trying to avoid having another situation where you've got improper permitting or permitting issues, and now you have the same thing reoccurring with a tank pad. Not a, whatever you call it, it's clearly defined as a tank pad, and tank pads are clearly defined in our ordinances as being conditional use. So I'm not sure how you're interpreting our ordinances, but the fact of the matter is, it clearly states the tank pad, and I gave you the documents which...
You're interpreting state regulations and then interposing those definitions and interpretations and scope of state permits on independent and of local zoning permits and approvals. And again, they are apples and oranges.
It's a tank pad, it's defined.
I get your argument.
Apparently you don't.
I understand what your argument is. We agree to disagree on it. And again, I'm happy to stand corrected. I encourage you to give me the contact information of the DEP representative you spoke with, and I'm happy to speak with them.
Okay. But I guess my question is, the fact is, we have a long-term permit that's going through. And by the way, I think the zoning officer, he reports to this board, correct?
The zoning officer is an employee of this township and reports to this board. This board, as I have advised publicly and to my board, they don't have jurisdiction over an appeal regarding the propriety of the zoning officer's determination on this matter. If one believes they've erred, and I believe you know, there are avenues for appealing that, whether through the zoning hearing board or through court or otherwise. This board does not have jurisdiction to reverse the zoning officer's determination. The avenue for appeal to that is set forth in the MPC.
All right, well then I'll do an appeal, but I guess the question is, so you've issued a 6-month permit, so that'll be...
We have not issued any.
But the township has issued a 6-month...
The zoning officer.
Which is the township.
That has nothing to do with the board.
Okay, but the fact of the matter is, there is a 6-month permit that's out there off of a 7-year permit from the state. And the question is, and I'll appeal it, because that's what it's called. You never mentioned anything about appeal, so...
I actually did, sir.
And I'm Mark Wolf from Fort Cherry Road as well. You just said he's an employee. Okay? You run this. You're the board overseeing that employee. So I'm just asking you a question. Is the 6 months...
officer operates.
Is the 6 months something that you have
We're a governmental organization. We have checks and balances, and people have jurisdiction, as I just explained.
Yes, I understand.
This board has many powers. One power that it does not have jurisdiction to hear an appeal, a request to reverse the order duly issued by our appointed lawful officer. He actually is a law enforcement zoning and code officer. There is jurisdiction, there is a means of appeal. That's not to this board.
Okay, got it.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there any more public comments?
Janet Laugh, Fort Cherry Road. I mean, I know you're new and you're new, but the Stuart tank farm, the tank pad required conditional use approval, and it was basically under our ordinances, and I don't believe when they did the refinements that had changed. But the difference between the Stuart one and this one has 20 tanks on it of residual waste. If you look at the documents, and I can provide them to you, this isn't going anywhere. They are not taking this down in 6 months. This is a massive...
They will be taking this down in 6 months.
Okay, well, if you
I
think...
disagree with you on that. They will permit the
Well,
law.
the WM...
And they will, at the termination of this, for a period of 6 months, for which they've applied and been approved, decommission it.
Okay, well, I realized, because I did look at the documents you're talking about, the initial application to the township was for a 163 permit. That is temporary storage. But I don't know if the township... Can I finish, please?
Yeah, I beg your pardon. Go ahead, please.
So that was for the 163. Those are considered, they're called like the big swimming pools. And when we had talked to George, he told us what his interpretation of what they were putting on. Well, then, while that was going through, Range turned around, like, I think that was like January and March, then they applied for this WMGR 123 permit.
With the DEP.
With the DEP, which is a long term, but they also notified the township. And I think the township needs to go back and really read what a WMGR 163 is versus the 123. The 123 permit was the one that they were initially going to get for the Stuart tank pad. These are tanks. These are residual waste tanks. There's 20 of them. I mean, the truck traffic is ridiculous. The worst thing about this is for wells not even being drilled in Mount Pleasant Township. We are taking the waste from Cecil Township. We followed those trucks to Ohio. What are we doing? Are we just turning, I mean, Springfield is a school. We're storing waste below a school, residual waste. They even have a zone for the trucks that are radioactive. We went through that with Carter Impoundment. It's the same water that was in Carter Impoundment. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at the transcript, because Range Resources, Glenn Truzzi said, it's the same water that's in the impoundment, only it's going to be in tanks and be less volatile, not volatile, less volatile.
Okay, and again, as you know, townships are not allowed to regulate on the environmental level. The DEP does, and again, and we can agree to disagree, the 163, 123 designations, those are designations of DEP permits, state level permits. Nobody filed with the township a request for a 123 or a 163. They have underlying authorizations that they get through the state permitting process that allows them to act on those through a variety of different local permittings that may or may not be required in this community, that community, etc., etc. We have our jurisdictions, they have theirs. We have our limitations, etc. Again, if they do during the fracking operation, they have this short-term permit, and they actually, as I understand it, they put them up, they use them, they take them down, they lease these things. This is not a permanent tank farm where it's a regional farm and they're there permanently. They take them up and down as needed. And again, we can quibble about whether that should be how the ordinance is set up, and I'm happy to talk about it, and George and I have talked about that. But the ordinance, as I understand it, and I believe it's been interpreted properly, and again, subject to correction if somebody tells me otherwise, or we have an appeal sustained against us.
Well,
that we are acting properly in the context of the local permits that have been applied for and the activities that are being done associated with it.
But you did review the permit. You looked at the 163 permit.
I'm not going to take an interrogation here. I gave you guys these permits.
I'm just trying to understand what the process is.
And I told you, I'm not an expert in state level DEP permits, but, it's the first thing I told you, you don't need to raise your eyebrows at me. They are state level permits. They have short and long-term permits. They're apples and oranges, and they're independent of the permits that they get on a local level. And again, I guess
I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying. Who reviews the permits to see if they comply with our ordinances, to see if the activity...
The zoning officer, in consultation with the solicitor, reviewed this and made a determination.
But didn't they submit the 123 state permit to get the permit?
They don't submit. They submit and can independently. And again, I encourage you to consult with your environmental attorney and with the DEP. They, on a state level, are required to get certain regulatory permits for all these activities, independent of us. We don't have anything to do with their permit reviews on the state, and the state doesn't have to do with ours locally. Okay, and they're not coextensive up and down. We do receive Act 14 notices that they have gotten this permit. They have applied for this permit on state level. They have had that. We do get the communications that one has been replaced with the other, etc., etc. We have all that. We provided it to them. Again, that's
but my point is they have submitted, I assume it's raised, submitted the state permit, the 123 permit, to get the local permit.
No, sir.
They did not.
We received, you mean the Act 14 notifications?
I'm just saying the permit.
We received Act 14 notices where they are, as they're required to do, advise the local community that they have sought, obtained, etc., these permits on the state level. We received those Act 14 notices. They don't trigger any activity on our part. They may or may not be followed up, and they usually are followed up with a companion follow-up local application. But they are required under the law to send those notifications to us that they are doing the stuff on a state level. We may or may not comment around that time. We don't. It is a heads up that we may anticipate that we may soon receive a local permit, whether it may be a permit for a well pad, for a compressor location.
And when those permits come in, they're being reviewed by the zoning officer?
They're reviewed and filed. We're required to just receive.
So they're not required to come in with the request for the township's permit, or the local permit.
So it sounds like the zoning board has to be involved with this more than this board, because they're the ones that's issuing or reviewing it, I'll say.
Any appeal from this? Yeah.
Yeah, because this board here, I don't want to say uneducated, but it just, we don't have any part of that. So the zoning board and the code,
We can apply, I mean, I brought it because I wrote.
I think that's where
at
everybody's
some-
arguing.
I think we learned what the process is to do here now.
Okay.
And
May I
if you
offer
feel.
something? Excuse me.
if-
May I offer something?
Yeah, in a second, 1 second here.
Okay.
So you know what you need to do now.
That's fine.
And that's your right.
I will take care of that. We'll do that.
I just want to try to be more specific, because it's not the board, it's the zoning board. I think you guys understand that.
I got you.
I just don't want to throw it out there that we're involved, because we don't know the rules on it either. The zoning board has to.
We have another public comment.
Well, I
Could you
just
state your
wanted-
name for the
Sure.
record?
Kathy Lodge. I just wanted to add to this that the Act 14 notifications that come is a state requirement to a community. I work for an environmental group, and one of the things that we go to communities and try to explain is what you're getting from the state, from the applicants. And in the case of Range, any note, or any company for that matter, an Act 14 notification is a requirement that a company, and it doesn't have to be Marcellus related, it's any activity, they come to the community, they're supposed to go before all the boards to see, where do we insert this activity? Does this abide by our ordinances? It's not just for zoning, I mean, the zoning hearing board, it is a zoning issue.
So I think they see it first, and then they bring it to us at that point.
No, an Act 14 notification comes to the office.
Okay.
The office is supposed to disseminate it to all of the boards, you folks, your planners, your zoning hearing board, your solicitor. You're not supposed to just file it away. You're supposed to take it and place it in the hands of the people that will look at the ordinances and see, does this trigger anything that we need to do as a community? In other words, if this activity requires a conditional use hearing, we need to alert our boards and act on that. You don't just file it away and say, well, now they're letting us know what they're going to do. No, no, no. You have a right to say where activity occurs. DEP says how. So if a company comes in and says, here's an Act 14 notice, we have plans to put up a tank pad. Ding, 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 right away you should go to your ordinances and say, okay, tank pads require conditional use. Now, even if it doesn't say tank pad, the mere fact that it's a WMGR, which is a waste permit, and a 163 or a 123. A 163 is actually a 2-year permit. So a 6-month permit still doesn't cover it. So you still have a tank pad, or you still have a use for longer than 6 months. A 123 is a whole different thing. It's the same activity, but it's a long-term permit. That's what the state defines it as. But you as a community should be seeing, is this an appropriate location for it? And at the very least, we need to tell the community. That's what an Act 14 is
I
supposed to initiate.
appreciate your comments. Appreciate your comments. Are there any other public comments at this time? Paul?
I'll make a motion, you have to announce we're going to have an executive session.
Yes, we're going to have an executive session after this meeting to regard legal matters, and we will not be returning.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second the motion to adjourn. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries.
I saw you grabbing that there, I'm sorry. You stole one from me, I was trying to make sure that it was good at our list. Thank you, everyone.
Great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.